Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
And some of the top interviews in sports radio.
Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson.
This is Joe Urso, five-time national champion head baseball coach for the University of Tampa.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is President Brendan Kelly. You're listening to Sports Pack.
You know what time it is. Wolves country, let's ride.
It is a beautiful Thursday evening here in the city of dreams, Carrollton, Georgia. This is your sports director, Brendan Willoughby Ray, kicking things off on Sports Pack, joined by Gavin, Richard, Carly, Gianna. The whole Sports Pack gang is here. Shout out Jason, shout out John back there, manning the board, incredible. We have a jam-packed show for y'all, as always, talking Sweet 16 men's hoops, Sweet 16 women's hoops, a little NBA, y'all's favorite new segment, Take It or Leave It, and of course, some West Georgia. But remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby.
Go Wolves.
Now, it's been very up and down for our baseball team. We're sitting at 16-14 right now. You know, not the best, not the worst. Obviously, when you look at the success of our basketball team, when you look at the success of our football team, and I'm not talking on the field success last year. I'm talking success with recruiting, success in getting one of the brightest minds at the school in the building right now in Richard Reed, success in getting Joel Taylor, an incredible coaching staff there, all those successes. But 16-14, not too bad. But I'm looking at some of these final scores from softball, man. Losing 10-0, 10-1, 15-1, 16-8, and 10-1 over our last 5 games. So looking at this softball team, how can we turn this around? Because we're not just losing, we're getting spanked. I mean, just to put it kindly, we're getting spanked right now. How can this softball team turn it around?
Prayer. And we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, right?
Oh, my
and
goodness.
you know what? And I think
Hallelujah.
and I reckon that includes winning some softball games. But no, I mean, it's time to get to it. I mean, they know what they're doing wrong. Their coaching staff knows. Their assistants know. They got to keep working, keep going at it, keep going hard in practice, training, putting in the extra time, and hope that translates into the game. I mean, it's time to. I mean, it's season's going now. We're in everybody. They're in conference play. They just lost. They just got destroyed by West Alabama this past weekend. I mean, it's time for a course correction. They see what's going wrong. Everybody take a deep breath in. Woosah, back out. All right, now let's go to that practice field, work out some things, and try to get things rolling for these next few series.
You want to know?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Just really quick. You mentioned like how bad their losses are, but their wins have been pretty spectacular too. I mean, they had a really good one, 25-5 over Clark Atlanta. And
it's Clark.
I'm trying to give them their props. Come on.
All right, my bad. Look.
Right. So like their wins are pretty significant too. It's just there's way too many losses to balance it all out.
You want to know what the main problem is? I'm looking at it right now. ERA. The 3 most important letters in baseball, in my opinion, because I mean that determines how many runs you're giving up on average, right? You want me to list some ERAs from these pitchers for the women for softball?
Let's hear it.
6.36, 7.61. 8.23, 7.88, and it just keeps getting worse.
I'm guessing they're bad.
Worst ERA on the team is a 12.6. Team average is a 7.8, which means
The
on
team average is
average,
7.8.
on average, our pitchers are giving up at least 7.8 runs, almost 8 runs per outing.
Oh, that is
together.
awful.
So that's the issue right there. You've got to fix your pitching, and it kind of runs. We kind of run into the same issue with our baseball team. Our lineup can hit like no one else. Mm-hmm. Very solid at bats. Every time I've gone out to see them, great approaches. They really know how to work counts. But then the pitchers get out there. I mean, we're using 7 to 8 pitchers per game, and that just shouldn't happen. So a lot of these guys are giving up too many runs. A lot of these girls are giving up way too many runs. That's where the issue is for both softball and baseball.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, here's the thing. We're going D1. I'm not saying that softball is the end-all be-all for the school. I mean, look, I respect those girls. They're great athletes. They're great players. And guess what? Everyone here at the University of West Georgia, every athlete is valued equally. But going D1, we got to be more competitive with these D2 schools, okay? Because baseball, I'm going to say the same thing for baseball. Dave Moore and this basketball team, bless you, Gavin. They have set a standard for excellence. We can all agree on that. We got a basketball player potentially coming in for an interview next week. So that would be great. Hopefully a couple more, kind of recap the season. But guess what? When we talk to those guys, one thing they talk about is team, and one thing they talk about is coaching. What we have to establish as a culture for not only football, because basketball, we got it. Football, we're getting there with Joel Taylor. But for all sports on campus is top to bottom leadership, top to bottom accountability, and top to bottom hard work. Because guess what? Dave Moore, he's a bootstrap guy. He's about going there, working hard, getting the job done. Joel Taylor, same way, a true breath of fresh air culture-wise. I look at all the rest of sports here at West Georgia and say, we need that culture for every single sport if we're going to succeed at the Division I level. But listen, guys, I'm really excited, okay?
Why is that?
Because 1 week from today, you better, you know those rubber band balls that you get, you know, like there's one on the office, but you can like, you know, go to Staples, get all your little rubber bands and put them on a ball.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you what, you better go down to Staples. You better get the biggest rubber band ball that you can find. Take all the rubber bands and put them around your socks because Wolfstock 2024 is gonna knock your socks off, okay? Thursday, April 4th from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom. You can catch incredible artists such as Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Saucier, Collar, Lumina, and XO. Again, right here in the heart of Carrollton, in the Campus Center Ballroom. It's brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Illuminated Productions, and Osier Apparel.
This is Roll Tide Billy, and I got one thing to say to y'all.
I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Who, Bama, who? Blitz, Bama, blitz.
Now, we all know the Tide are in the Sweet 16, but we're going to get to that game last. We have an incredible slate of games to talk about. Unfortunately, we can't get into all of them, so we picked 4 of the best games, the closest games, games that we think are going to go down to the wire and decide who makes the Elite Eight. So first of all, we got what in my opinion might be the closest game of the weekend tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on TBS. The Creighton Blue Jays, the number 3 seed in the Midwest region, going against the Tennessee Vols, the regular season champs out of the SEC, a 2 seed. Tennessee right now a 3.5 point favorite against the Blue Jays. Gavin, who wins and why?
Well, you know, I look at this matchup, and it's kind of interesting because you're looking at 2 teams that play completely different styles of basketball, in my opinion. And I say that more so with the pace of play. Tennessee, very slow, methodical, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the teams that we've seen throughout the whole entire tournament. And then you look at Creighton. They play very fast. They're they move the ball around a lot. So it's going to be – the matchup's going to come down to – who can pull away based on their pace of play? Is Tennessee going to be able to just very methodically, you know, pick apart Creighton's defense and take it step by step? Or is Creighton going to play too fast for Tennessee? Are they going to move the ball around too much? Are they going to create chaos in the court? That's one thing about college basketball that I really love. You don't really see it in the NBA as much. The ball movement creates chaos on the court. So much moving around. Guys get lost. Guys get left wide open. So that's the main thing I'm looking at with this Creighton-Tennessee matchup here. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers, though. I think that they've got more depth. They've got more talent, in my opinion. I think that they are able to control games better than Creighton can. I'm going to go Tennessee.
Now, when I look at these 2 teams, listen, it's going to be a great game. First of all, Creighton has a great team, and I really like this Creighton team a lot. I debated putting them in my Elite Eight. I thought about Final Four, but I wasn't going that far. But I have them in my Elite Eight for sure. I mean, Creighton is a very good team. But this matchup against Tennessee, I don't think favors Creighton very much. Before Dalton Connect came to Tennessee over these past few years, Tennessee's made some pretty deep runs in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, led by Ziegler because of their defense. They had Ziegler, who was their best scorer by far, but they were defense at Tennessee. And now it's the same way. They still have Ziegler. They still play great defense. Maybe not as good as the past few years, but they still play very above average defense. But then they go add arguably the most prolific scorer in all of college basketball and Dalton Connect to that roster. I think it's going to be a great game. Creighton can score with the best of them, up and down. Creighton's a very deep team. They're very even. they can get 10 players from their top. They can get 10 points from any of their top 7 players on that roster. But when I think it comes down to Tennessee, that balance of offense and defense is going to pay off. It's going to be a very close game. I can see Tennessee winning it by like 5 late in the fourth quarter. But it's going to be a ball game. I wouldn't even be surprised at overtime. It's like that Oregon and Creighton game. But I think Tennessee would be too much offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I got to agree with y'all. I mean, I think I've said it before. I've been really confident in this Tennessee team this entire season. They've been very balanced. They have both the powerhouses on defense and offense, like you mentioned, Richard. And it is going to be a tough game because Creighton has proved in this tournament that they can compete. They can compete very much, you know, going into double overtime with Oregon, who's a very good team. But I think it's part of what you said, Gavin, about who's going to control this game and control the pace. I think that Tennessee has the talent, the experience, the depth in their roster to control the pace of the game and win this game.
Here's the thing.
You
know, Tennessee's a great team. Yes, you can see the Bama chain. You can see the Bama sweatshirt. You can even see the Bama shoes. I take them off, but they're, you know, they're Chuck Taylors. They're tied up tight. I might, during a song break, take one off and show the camera. You know, it's all Bama here. So obviously I'm biased against Tennessee. And I don't want this pick to come across biased whatsoever. So I'm going to tell you why Creighton will take down the Tennessee Vols. Now, yes, they both offenses score about 80 points a game.
Right.
Tennessee, better on defense. Tennessee has size, has physicality, can slow the game down. But guess what? Creighton, they showed heart against Oregon. They showed mettle. That Oregon team, yes, they were 11 seed. Yes, they got hot toward the end of the year, won the Pac-12, weren't the best regular season team. But Creighton showed so much poise under pressure, so much control over the game. That was a double overtime game. They won by 13 points. They took the game over. They took the pace over. Tennessee, they can impose their will when everything goes great. Connect is one of the best players in the country. But I feel like Creighton is a little bit hotter. I feel like Creighton's clicking on all cylinders. And I think coming off of that incredible victory, a decisive double overtime victory by 13 points, I think Creighton gets it done in a close one. Now, a game that I am personally so excited for, tomorrow night, 7:30 on TBS, we have the #1 seed in the Midwest region, led by Player of the Year, Zach Edey. The Purdue Boilermakers taking on the 5 seed, Gonzaga Zags. Now, Gonzaga, this isn't one of their hottest years. I mean, we're used to seeing them as a 1 seed, a 2 seed. They came in a little bit under the radar as a 5 seed, but so far they have lit the tournament on fire. Richard, we're going to throw it to you. Who wins this huge matchup?
You know what? I love what you just said, how you segued into it. Yeah, this isn't one of Gonzaga's hottest years. They got started off slow, dropped a few of their early games, but as the year has gone on, except for St. Mary's, because St. Mary's is just their kryptonite this year in their conference, this Gonzaga team has been extremely good. And in watching this team, even though they lack the star power of the big names, there's no Chet Holmgren, there is no Jalen Suggs, there is no Drew Timme. But this is the most complete Gonzaga team I think I've seen in the past 3 or 4 years. And I think this is their team, aside from that team with Jalen Suggs, that is most built to win a national championship. And it's because of their depth. They're solid up and down the roster, and especially this game against Purdue. Purdue might be the heavy favorites. I think ESPN gave Purdue like a 77.4% chance to win this game.
They did.
But listen, I think Gonzaga's going to win it. And I think it's going to be a battle, but it's not going to be a pretty one for Purdue. Gonzaga has the size and the defensive intensity to really contest Zach Edey and mess with those guards all around. They have 3 players in their starting lineup over 6'8", 3 forwards, their biggest being Ben Gregg at 6'10". And then we just talked about Creighton, but Creighton's best player, their point guard last year, Ryan Nembhard, is now a starting point guard for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And I think it's going to pay off a lot. He averages 12 points a game, shooting 44% from the clip. He's a dog. But they get scoring from up and down their roster. They have the size to compete. They have the size and defensive intensity to compete with Purdue. They're going to make Zach Edey uncomfortable. He's still probably going to score like 25 points, but I believe Gonzaga is going to continue to score with them. They're a deep team. They go about 8-9 deep in their roster. I think they're going to prove to be too much for Purdue. And I have Purdue getting knocked out by the Gonzaga Bulldogs in a nail-biter in the Sweet 16 this coming Friday.
Gonzaga wins in 2 ways. They win if they can actually hit the 3-ball shot, which they could not do to save their life against Purdue earlier this season when they played them in Maui. They went 6 of 32 beyond the arc against Purdue,
Right.
which
God.
you can't do that. I mean, in college basketball in general, you live and die by the 3-ball 90% of the time unless you've got a guy like Zach Edey on your team, which a lot of teams don't. That's just the truth of it. So they win if they can hit threes. But in order to do that, they also have to limit the production of other players outside of Zach Edey. To be honest, if I'm Gonzaga's coach, I'm telling him, look, Edey's going to get his 20 points. He's going to get his 10 rebounds or more. there's not much you can do about that. They've got the size advantage over us. Yes, we've got some size, but Edey's just dominant in the paint.
Right.
You can't really do much to stop him.
But you got to overwhelm those
what
guards.
we can do is, like you were saying, overwhelm the guards, limit their production, and then maybe if you can get that 3-ball to hit while doing that, you've got a chance. But if they can't hit the 3-ball shot, you can stop the guards all you want. Edey's going to eat still, and you're not going to have a chance to win. So Gonzaga has to be able to hit threes if they're going to win this game.
I think another way they can win this game is kind of sticking to what they know. Gonzaga leads college basketball in inside scoring. They're averaging 42.8 points per game in the paint this season. I think that's very huge for them.
It's going to be hard to do.
I mean, you're right. I mean, people have probably gotten hip to their game at this point, but I feel like if they stick to what they know, getting those key points in the paint, hitting those guys there in the paint, they can win. But, I mean, outside shooting can't hurt either. So I think it needs to be a good mix of both.
And see, Gianna, you're right. Gonzaga dominates on the inside. They need to take the fight to Zach Edey because while he is a big body, I think he's a big cone on defense. He is no Shaquille O'Neal. He's not extremely aggressive. So if you really just come at him and keep coming at him the entire night, dominate that inside, that will open up the outside shot like you were saying, Gavin. And I think that's what Gonzaga's going to do. I think they're going to win this game, man.
Zach Edey will not win this game for the Purdue Boilermakers. Braden Smith and Lance Jones will.
Yeah.
I think that guard play for Purdue, the second best three-point shooting team in the country, hitting them at 41%. Gonzaga 35%, that's 123rd in the nation. Like Gavin said, Gonzaga can win if they hit 45% of their threes. But I'm going to bank on the best player in the country being able to defer to his three-point shooters, get them going. Because one thing that's underrated about Zach Edey's game, in my opinion, every single year he's improved. I mean, this year is by far the best version of Zach Edey. I was, because here's the thing, he wasn't an NBA prospect. Now people are talking about him being picked in the late 20s. He's improved his game so much.
Yes.
Watching this Purdue team reminds me of the 09 Orlando Magic. They went to the finals against the Lakers, right? Because you had Dwight Howard, a dominant center, but you surrounded him with shooters, kicking it out, spreading the floor. Not only makes him more dominant, but everyone eats around him as well. It's going to be a close game, maybe one of the best we see this weekend. But I just feel like at the end of the day, Purdue, they're on a collision course with either Houston or UConn. I think this team, or they'd get to Houston in the semifinal, and then if they win that, they'd get to UConn in the final. I feel like they're on there's going to be a close game against Houston. They beat them, they go to UConn. I feel like Purdue, this is a revenge tour for them, and they're going to start it by taking down the Zags. Now, another huge game, especially huge for our girl Gianna here. Another game tomorrow night at 6:39 p.m. on CBS. We have the number 4 seed Duke Blue Devils facing the number 1 seed in the South, the Houston Cougars, favored by 3.5 points. They're ESPN's BPI number 1 team. They're number 2 in KenPom. They've been the most dominant team, especially on defense. Our man Jason Barker has them winning the tournament. Carly has them winning the tournament. But guess what? Jared McCain's been on fire. And Duke, they're not playing like a 4 seed Duke. They're playing like a 2 or a 1 seed Duke. They're playing like a Duke team that's been disrespected since Coach K stepped down. They're playing like a Duke team they're itching to show the world they belong on the grand stage at the Final Four. Gianna, will your Duke Blue Devils get it done tomorrow night?
Now, you are right. In this tournament, we have not been playing like a 4 seed. We've been playing like the Dukes of old, and that I've been really excited to see that. We've been very impressive. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough for this Houston team, and it pains me to say this because when I'm watching these games in this tournament, you know what? I'm like, you know what? Duke can go on a run. They can go all the way. But that's just me as a Duke fan. As like a sports person, I realize that we might not have it really all together to do that, especially because I feel like since the round of 64 and the round of 32 were really back-to-back like that, we were on fire, we were staying on that heat. But since we've had like a break in between all the games, we might have cooled down a little bit, and that fire might have doused out a little bit. I think Houston is going to get it done against us.
Listen, I'm glad you weren't blinded by your bias because I was going to hate to have to break your heart.
I'm not.
Jared McCain has been on fire, but he won't. Matter of fact, he'll have a good game. He'll probably score about 10 or 15. But he's playing the best defensive team in the nation right now, still playing. Because I would have argued A&M was right up there with Houston with physicality and defense, but now Houston's the last man standing. Houston is going to flat out overwhelm Duke with their guard play. L.J. Cryer, Jamal Shedd, and Emmanuel Sharp. Not even to say they're undersized big men who also play elite defense, dominate on the boards. They're going to put pressure on those Duke guards, pressure on those Duke big men. And then last game, Houston beat Texas A&M, yes. 4 of their 5 starters fouled out, yes, they won by 5. But Texas A&M out-rebounded them 49-35. That doesn't happen against Houston. The fact that it happened and they still won last week tells us everything we need to know. Houston is going to out-rebound Duke on the offensive and the defensive boards are going to overwhelm them defensively, and Houston is also surrounded by shooters. They have the perfect balance between defense and offense. I think Houston's going to win it. Duke might make it a game early on, but I see Houston pulling away in the second half.
Yeah, I agree with you, but similar to Gonzaga, not exactly how they win, but Duke can win in two ways. Kind of how Gonzaga can win in two ways. Duke wins, one, if they take care of the ball like they have been doing all year long. They've been one of the best teams when it comes to limiting turnovers each game against Houston's elite defense. That'll be especially important. That's one, taking care of the ball. Don't turn it over. Don't take dumb shots. Be efficient. Second, push the pace of play. Houston, yes, one of the best defensive teams in the country, also one of the slowest paced teams in the country. You saw with the Texas A&M game, Texas A&M pushed the pace, and what happened? That game was closer than it should have been. Yes, you argued Texas A&M's physicality is what kept them in. That right. Plus the fact that they were trying to play as fast as they could, keep Houston off off guard. Really, that was the whole game plan. It seemed, try to force the ball, force Houston to make mistakes on defense, which you don't often see. So if Duke can take care of the ball and push the pace of play while remaining efficient, that's the closest they'll get to being able to take down this Houston team. But realistically, looking at how dominant Houston's been the entire regular season and now in the tournament too, I don't see any way that Duke can get that done. But that is the closest way they will get it done.
Yeah, I don't either. And if they can find a way to somehow dominate them on the offensive boards, which I don't think they have a chance of, that'd be another way. Second chance points for Duke. But I think Houston's going to be too much, especially on the offensive boards.
Also, really quick, you mentioned Jared McKinnon having like an amazing tournament, especially that last game. But we still have to remember that he's a freshman.
Right.
Like, he is amazing. He's making all these waves, but he's still a freshman, so he's prone to make mistakes.
This is the hardest game I've had to pick so far.
Really? This
Honestly, yes. Because I look at Houston, and I see an incredible defensive team. I see a veteran team. I see a team that's ready to win a championship. However, let's look at the Big 12 tournament, what happened in the championship game. They lost 69-41. This is a team in Houston that when they're on can beat anyone, but that ugly is super ugly. And what really concerns me for them is if Duke gets going, if Duke's hot, if Duke is making their shots, Houston can't go shot for shot with Duke. Houston needs to get stops.
No.
I don't think so.
LJ Cryer and Jamal Shead can't go shot for shot?
I don't think they go shot for shot.
I can go shot for shot with anybody.
I saw them against Iowa State, and yes,
Iowa State has the best defense in the country. Arguably, they're top three. And that was their third time playing each other.
I just didn't like the optics of that game. See, here's the thing. If you score 55, 60, that's fine. But scoring 41, yes, that's great defense, but that's also the inability to get it going on offense when you absolutely need to. Shooting a low percentage, bad turnovers, when it rains, it pours. All I'm saying is if Duke is hitting their threes, if Duke is hitting their shots, Houston goes cold a little bit. That's the area of concern. However, I think Houston gets it done. Right. Incredibly close game, really hard to pick. But at the end of the day, I think Houston advances to the Elite Eight. Now,
very quickly, though. Very quickly. I'm sorry, Brendan. We have to do this quick.
We're running out of time.
Oh, crap. Okay, very quickly. Picks. I just realized what time it was. Alabama, North Carolina.
Go first. Yeah, go first.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
Well, listen, I'm wearing all the gear. You can guess where I'm going. Alabama is going to run North Carolina out of the gym tonight. A double-digit victory for the Crimson Tide. Mark Sears is dropping 30. RJ Davis, Baycott, I got a lot of respect for you, but guess what? It's going to start out close, but once Bama starts hitting their shots, once Nate Oates' boys get running, you are going to be running scared. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide advancing to the Elite Eight, and we're going to talk about the Final Four later. So maybe.
I'm picking the storyline. I think North Carolina's going to get it done. I think Alabama's great offensively. They barely ever played defense. They played defense one time this year. That was their latter game against Tennessee. I think it's going to be a great game, but I have North Carolina winning it in a very close, maybe like 3.
I got Alabama winning, actually. That's my upset for the Sweet 16. But it goes way down to the wire. I think Alabama wins it like in the last 30 seconds or something.
I'm going to keep this short and simple. Alabama's had one of the worst ranked defenses in the entire season. They're also without a solid big man inside. Armando Bacot is going to take great advantage of that. They're going to dominate inside the paint, and they're going to win this game. Go North Carolina.
Now, Armando Bacot may or may not take advantage of our defense. But what you can take advantage of tonight are delicious Jefferson's wings. Okay, they're served up hot and fresh daily with 20 different sauce options. Run, don't walk to Jefferson's to get yours. Located at 342 Maple Street, visit their website at jeffersons.com or follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton. Quick break, and when we get back, it's time for the women.
Hey, this is 5-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Pack, only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Just a reminder to all of you that we are indeed a radio station first, and we're taking a song break right now, so go ahead and go to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit the play button at the top of the screen, and listen to the great music that we're playing. Wink, wink, here a little hint right here, boy. It's that new Future in Metro. Better like you knew something, boy. We don't trust you. But look, once the song's over, we'll come right back and talk about the women's tournament. We'll be back soon. Stay tuned.
Featuring your favorite artists, including Kamal Saucier, Caller, and Jay Pruitt. Also featuring performances by Dark Souls Thug, Lumina, and XO. Wolfsock 2024, Thursday, April 4th from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom. Brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Student for Center Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Illuminated Productions, and Osier Apparel.
In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Printers Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind you there is no drinking under the age of 21, never drink and drive even if it's just one beer, and make sure you add some food and water when you drink so you don't end up texting your ex. Know your limits.
An historic season with a tournament to back it up. The competition is stronger than ever, and all eyes are on them. Who's going to come out on top?
Been a very, very entertaining Women's March Madness so far. Got some huge matchups this Saturday in the Sweet 16 because look, let me paint a picture for you, okay? Let's look at this Sweet 16. You know, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening over the airwaves, whatever, I'm painting a picture. I got my easel out. I got my brushes,
Brendan.
okay? LSU and Iowa. They're on a collision course, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the same side of the bracket, both in the Albany region, correct?
Yes.
They are the 3 seed and the 2 seed. The 1 seed and the 3 seed. So Iowa's the 1 seed, LSU's the 3 seed. And we all know they matched up last year in the national championship game. Maybe the most, I don't know if infamous is the right word, but it's the most famous game of women's basketball of all time, in my opinion. Because, I mean, you got the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing, all the storylines. I mean, it was a really big deal. And arguably that game is what has made this college basketball season the biggest on the women's side in history. They're on a collision course, like I said, for the Elite Eight. But guess what? Both got a game to win in this Sweet 16. LSU's playing UCLA. Iowa's playing Colorado. Now, on the surface level, you look at the Iowa-Colorado game and say, Iowa's going to win, man. You know, they're the number 1 seed. Colorado's number 5. We look at a team like Colorado, they're 22-9. No way they can hang with Caitlin Clark. Well, they're a really, really solid team. I mean, this tournament, they have played incredible defense. They've shot the ball well. We look at Iowa. Caitlin Clark, she's playing great, but she's a little bit in her head. You know, I know we're all talking about her being super competitive, but at the end of the day, she's losing her cool a little bit, losing her temper. Do we see a potential upset? Can Colorado knock Iowa off and ruin a potential rematch?
I mean, it's always possible. I'm not going to look, any given Sunday it can happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, last game, you're right. It wasn't Iowa's best game. And if Colorado can catch them slipping like that again and take advantage of it, Iowa can find themselves in a hole that Caitlin Clark will have to shoot them out of. I don't really think they're going to slip up twice because, first of all, that Elite 8 matchup has to happen. Like I was saying last segment, that Arizona-North Carolina has to happen on the men's side. Need that Caleb Love versus R.J. Davis, battle of the mid-women. But listen, it has to happen. It has to happen. We need that Iowa. We need that Iowa LSU rematch in the Elite 8. It's storybook. It has to happen again. Whoever will prevail and go on to get beat by South Carolina in the national championship.
It's kind of funny because I almost, it's not exactly the same, but I almost compare Iowa to Purdue in a way. And yes, you can argue Purdue has better role players than Iowa does on the women's side, but I look at it almost like Caitlin's almost like the Zach Edey in this situation where, yes, you can try all you want to limit Caitlin Clark. You can try all you want to limit Zach Edey, but at the same time, they're going to get their 20 points, their 30 points. They're going to get their 5 to 10 rebounds. They're going to still play the same game regardless. You can't really stop them that much. It's can Colorado stop the role players for Iowa? Can they limit them enough to where Caitlin Clark's performance isn't going to be enough? But then again, Caitlin Clark still has the capability to take that over and say, you can do that all you want. I'm still going to go drop 40 on you and win the game anyway. So I think that the chances of upset here are very slim to none. And that's only because Caitlin almost has that Kobe mentality in the sense of you can beat my team, but you're not going to beat me, basically. So I look at it that way. Caitlin's going to take this game over regardless. I don't think Colorado gets the upset here. I'm going to go Iowa.
Yeah, I don't think they get the upset either, but I think Colorado can make it a tough game just like West Virginia did. When I was watching that game, West Virginia really, well, before the game anyway, West Virginia was a very defensive heavy team, and they focused on that in this game against Iowa, and they were getting in passing lanes. They were disrupting Caitlin. They were, trapping her close to the half-court line. I feel like if Colorado can kind of emulate that, copy that, then they can make this a very tough game for Iowa and Caitlin. But I still think Iowa's going to pull it out. We're going to get that LSU-Iowa rematch.
Close game. Iowa pulls it out. They're a 7.5-point favorite. I think they cover. Caitlin Clark, I think she heard the Dawn Staley comments. Now, look, I'm not putting down Paige buckets, okay? If you didn't hear, Dawn Staley, coach a women's South Carolina team, the best team in the country, probably going to go undefeated, win the national championship, said that, well, I'm not going to call her what Dawn Staley called her, which is the elitist player, but Dawn Staley basically said she is the most elite player in the country, the best player. This is true. But basically, Dawn Staley said that Caitlin Clark is not the top player in today's game. It is Paige Buckets. I think Caitlin Clark is a crazy competitive. I think she's cut from that Kobe cloth. I think she goes out, buries Colorado, double digits, gets it done. Now, you know how I said Colorado is a 7.5-point underdog? UCLA is only a 3.5-point underdog against this LSU team. UCLA is a 2 seed. LSU is a 3 seed. UCLA is a team that is hot. They are cooking. Everyone's talking about USC on the other side of town, but UCLA, they're elite.
UCLA's balling. I mean, I'm nervous for this game because, like I said, I really, really, really want that Iowa and LSU rematch in the Elite 8. But UCLA has been dominant recently. I still trust LSU. I think they have the star power up and down the roster. Flau'jae, Angel Reese down low, and even Haley Van Lith. They also have the depth as well. I mean, anybody on their roster can pull up and drop 20 on any given night. So I think LSU will still get it done. But UCLA is going to throw their best pitch. They're going to give them all they can got. But I'm really hoping LSU gets it done because I need them to play Iowa in the Elite 8.
No, yeah, I think you're right. LSU, they retain most of their star players. They have, that same chemistry, most of that same core that went and won the national championship. So I think UCLA, they are going to put up a fight, but I think LSU I think they're also itching for that rematch, so they're going to do anything they can to get there.
One thing about LSU that I've noticed is the inconsistency throughout the game. They'll have runs where, yes, they'll go be dominant for parts of the game, but the other times they go silent. So give me the upset here. UCLA takes down LSU.
Well, not really the upset because UCLA is the second
not really
seed.
the upset, but it is in a way.
Yeah.
if you really look at it, the optics of it, like Brendan says, give me UCLA over LSU. Send Angel Reese packing. The storyline's over. Iowa versus UCLA. Iowa beats UCLA, goes on to beat South Carolina too. Calling it now.
Whoa!
Hey,
you know, beat South Carolina playing 1v5. Well, they did last year, so never mind. Let me shut up.
A lot of people this past week talking about Kendrick, talking about Drake. Drake very famously said once, "Kiki, do you love me?" Guess what? LSU's not going to be loving Kiki on Saturday night because Kiki Rice, the guard from UCLA,
Okay, I was like, where are we going?
she's going to come up big. They got another great guard, Lauren Betts.
He doesn't even know her name.
No, I knew it was Lauren. For the last name, I spaced on a little bit.
He's looking her up right now.
Lauren Betts.
No, he got
she's
it,
been incredible. She's been doing incredible. The last name escaped me. I'm not going to lie, but Lauren Betts, she's been doing incredible. And guess what? There's a lot of hot water surrounding this LSU team right now. We're looking at their coach, Kim Mulkey. That story's coming out soon. We already know she's doing her rap thing. I mean, look. Flau'jae. I don't know. I keep thinking Flo because she's trying to be a rapper, but you know what? End of the day, UCLA has no drama. They take care of business. Ruin the rematch, which really breaks all of our hearts. But guess what? UCLA doesn't care about any of that. Kiki, Lauren, they're going to get it done and send LSU packing. Flau'jae. Now, there is an incredible weekend ahead of college sports. I'm talking tonight, Friday, Saturday, and even Easter Sunday. Well, guess who's open on Easter Sunday? Jefferson's in Carrollton. They have 20 flat screen TVs, a full bar with 16 draft beers, please drink responsibly, a covered porch, and an outdoor area for cornhole. Whether it's the big game or you just want a chill afternoon, Jefferson's in Carrollton is your full stop for fun. Located at 342 Maple Street. Visit their website at jeffersons.com or follow them on Instagram at jeffersons_Carrollton.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Schroeder, LeBron doing it again with first slam from Schroeder.
Okay, all right, that's enough of that.
It's crazy we got to talk about this again, y'all. But last night, Warriors, Magic. In case you didn't know, the Houston Rockets have won 10 straight. They are on fire. They're one game back from the Warriors for that 10 spot, the last spot in the play-in. So the Warriors are under a lot of pressure, right? I mean, Steph, he's kind of on the back nine of his career. Hate to say it, 36. He's trying to win one last championship. We're starting to look at Klay Thompson, Draymond, these guys, not really knowing how much they have left on the tank. I've said for months they're pretty much done. For some reason, the media, people still believe in them. I've been telling you for a while, this Warriors team cooked. They won last night, 101-93. Curry struggled, but he came through huge with a great three at the end of the game to put it out of reach, scored 17 points, had 10 assists, whatever. But the real story was Draymond Green. 2 technicals within the first 4 minutes of the game, getting ejected. Curry was, beside himself, crying. You know, he kicked the chair going back to the bench. This Warriors team was in disarray. I mean, Curry, after he hit that big-time shot, he was going insane. Like, yes, I get celebrating, but this emotion this team is displaying, seeing what Draymond is going through, it's really just a bizarre showing from a team we've seen win 4 championships. The fall from grace is incredible, and Richard, I'm going to kick it to you first. What do you make of all this Warriors drama, and does Draymond's outburst signal the end of this Curry era?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Steph Curry's still going to be fine. Even when Steph Curry isn't running around running the entire team like he is, he'll still have another 3 years of his career just sitting in the corner as a spot-up shooter like how Ray Allen did when he played for the Heat. So I don't think the Curry era's over. And then even him celebrating at the end of the game, it's competitive fire. It was a close game. He hit the big shot to win it, beat the clutch allegations. I mean, he won them the game. He has the right to be excited. But when it comes to Draymond, I mean, it's the same old, same old. Draymond lacks self-control. And then when you have a problem like that, the NBA has suspended you because of how you've been acting and all this kind of stuff. You have to move smarter. Because as Draymond Green, yes, there is a bigger target on your back. You don't need to get mad talking about, man, they looking to give me a tech. Yes, they are, because of your reputation. If you're known for giving the refs a hard time and going after opposing players, they're going to look harder at you, and the slightest thing you do, they're going to go after you. So knowing that, you have to move smarter. And, I mean, he just hasn't been doing it. I mean, Draymond is going to keep being Draymond. I guess he's going to keep being thrown out of games in the first 5 minutes. It's like the third time he's done that this season. I mean, I don't know. He's a grown man. Let him do his thing at this point. I don't care. I'm going to speak on another grown man. I could care less.
I could care less, too. But one thing I will say, this is great for ratings. We It is. We were just talking about how the NBA, out of all the sports, have been struggling for ratings the most, really. Right. I mean, even hockey at this point, you're seeing the resurgence of, people really wanting to go watch hockey. But the NBA it's in a dumpster right now when it comes to that. So I think having moments like this, continuing the storyline, Draymond's done it again, it's almost like WWE, like they're scripting it at this point, right? But you still watch it anyway because you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen, but you still want to watch it anyway, right? And I think having personalities like Draymond still in the court, just to see him get those texts, just to see that happen, and if not, it's still the possibility. Is he gonna freak out? People want to watch to see, right?
Right.
So I think this just helps NBA ratings. I mean, Adam Silver might not be the happiest about it because of why it's getting ratings, but at the same time,
he just need to be happy somebody watching what he putting out there.
People are watching regardless, and if that means that Curry has to start crying and kick down a chair because Draymond got ejected and he just hit a big shot, then so be it. I think this is good for the game of basketball still. I don't think that this is any necessarily negative impact. The only negative impact I could go to, and that's even a stretch, is like young kids watching Draymond. But even at that point, it's really not that serious.
Yeah, Draymond's a meme, man.
So he's a meme at this point. So it's like, I think this is nothing but good for the NBA.
But it is good for the NBA for real. Teams like the Rockets surging the way they have, Jalen Green turning into a superstar, captain baby mama, and also captain on the court. I mean, he's flat out balling. I mean, he got 3 kids on the way a week. But man, he got all that going on. He balling out. The Rockets are surging at the right time. Dylan Brooks has kind of quieted down and been a solid piece for that team. He didn't fall into Draymond's shoes. He went out and became somewhat of a star in his own right for Houston. And then teams like the Dallas Mavericks, after halftime against Sacramento Kings on Tuesday, they just ran away and hid from the Kings. And I'm looking at this Dallas team led by Kyrie Irving, led by Luka Doncic, and a lot of solid role players up and down that roster. It's like, when that Mavericks team is on, there aren't many teams in the NBA that can compete with them. Yep. They put up 132 against the Kings. Now, the Kings sucked on defense, but there were a lot of contested shots that the Mavericks knocked down, too. So when I'm looking at this Dallas team, they're sneaking into the playoffs as a top 5 seed. They're going to be a scary team to play in a 7-game series.
I couldn't agree more. Last thing I want to say about this, Draymond Green situation, it's disappointing to see. I mean, y'all know me. I'm a Warriors hater. Of course I'm going to love them struggling for that 10th seed in the West. But at the end of the day, seeing a team led by a top 10 player of all time, yes, I'm putting Curry in my top 10. Shock, I know, but guess what? I mean, he's the best three-point shooter of all time, 4-time champ. Got to find a place for him somewhere in that top 10. You're looking at a guy in Steve Kerr, not only a multiple-time champ with the Chicago Bulls as a player, but a 4-time champ as a head coach. They're above this. They're better than this. And in no way, shape, or form am I placing Draymond Green's actions on Curry, on Kerr, on anyone else but himself. It's his problem, his fault. But that team lacks leadership at this point, and it's disappointing to see because we see this same Draymond situation happen over and over and over again. And last night was the first time Steve Kerr's really had given him any kind of, little slap on the wrist. He said, it was Draymond's fault. Before that, you had Kerr up at the podium, Curry. They were tight-lipped about it, and I get that's your guy. I get you have to protect him. But after this much distraction, hurting the team, that was a game they needed to win. He got himself ejected in the first 4 minutes. If I'm Curry, if I'm Kerr, there has to be big-time repercussions because it's not fair to the Warriors fans. It's not fair to his teammates, and really, it's not fair to the NBA that one of its biggest stars is going through this. It's terrible to see. You know what else is terrible to see? College students who binge drink alcohol at least 3 times per week because they're roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or a project as a result of drinking. I love that energy, Richard. Keep it going with the sound effects.
I mean, come on, man.
That is why Printer's Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind students drinking should be done responsibly and in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take hangovers as excuses.
These kids be out here drinking like fish.
Hey, when we get back, take it or leave it, Final Four style.
This is Super Bowl champion quarterback Brad Johnson, and you're listening to Sports Pack on the Wolf Sports Network.
Thank you. Hey, y'all, it's Richard Reed again. Just here to remind y'all once more that we're taking our second song break of the show because, yes, we are indeed a radio station first. So head on over to wolfsportsnetwork.com, click the play button at the top of the screen, and listen to the great music that we're playing on this song break. Then when the song break's over, either stick around on the radio side or hop back on over to the YouTube and or Twitch link wherever you're watching from and catch the rest of the show because we're doing Take It or Leave It. Don't miss it.
Y'all know what it is. A week from today, the biggest concert event of the year is coming here to the University of West Georgia. I'm talking Wolfstock 2024, kicking off Thursday, April 4th from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom. Performances by Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Saucier, Caller, Lumina, and EXO are coming your way. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Osier Apparel, and Illuminated Productions.
Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it.
Hey, whoever's sniffing, that kind of added to it a little bit. I thought that was kind of hard. Okay, okay.
My fault. I didn't enjoy my sniffling at all.
It's that pollen for real.
It is. It's killing me. Now, listen. For this take it or leave it, we're gonna be making our final four predictions. So I'm going region by region, and I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna ask you about the favorites in each region. So we're gonna start off with the East. Take it or leave it. UConn back to the Final Four for the second straight year.
I'm going to go take it.
Everyone takes it.
Take it.
Yeah.
Everyone takes it.
I mean, there's just no denying that UConn.
Let's not say that again.
Okay, Richard. Out of all the teams that we've seen to win a national championship, UConn is the most likely to go repeat it. They've got all their pieces they still need. If anything, they got better this year than they were last year. So I'll take UConn, make it to the Final Four any day.
UConn's just unstoppable, man. I mean, I think that's all we really have to say about it. They're probably going to end up winning the national championship, but at the very least, they'll be in the Final Four. Now, in the South region, take it or leave it. The Houston Cougars go to the Final Four led by that incredible defense.
I'm taking it again, guys.
We're all taking
it. I'm taking it from Houston this time.
Shut up.
But yeah, I mean, I think Texas A&M was the only team other than UConn that I can flat out see straight up beating Texas A&M, and they came as close as anybody else's have, other than Iowa State, who beat them in the Big 12 championship. I think the only thing in Houston's way right now is UConn.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, looking at this Houston team, they are dynamic. Like I said, that offense does scare me. I think a game against Marquette in the Elite Eight would be, well, like, my social media tag, very elite in the Elite Eight. Okay. However, Houston gets it done.
The slight
goes
plug.
to the Final Four. Yeah, follow UWG_Elite Eight. It's some great content. Now, Purdue, favorites in the Midwest. I have them getting to my championship game. Take it or leave it. They get to the Final Four.
I'm leaving it.
Whoa. Only one at the desk leaving it, Richard Reed.
I mean, I said it early on. I still believe this Purdue team, while being the best team they've had in years, outside of that 1 year with Lord have mercy, Jaden Ivey a few years back, I think this is the best team they've had. But I do think Gonzaga is going to get the best of them in the Sweet 16. I think Gonzaga has everything up and down that roster. They can score inside, and like Gavin said, all that dominant inside scoring against Zach Edey will open up the 3 for Gonzaga. I think it's going to be a good game. Purdue's guards are going to have a good game. Everything's going to be close. But I think Gonzaga is going to pull it out late in that game. Last 5 minutes against Purdue.
All right, so far, Carly,
They took it and they pulled it back out.
Carly, Gavin, and I have UConn, Houston, and Purdue. Richard, you have UConn, Houston, and is it Iowa State or Gonzaga?
Oh, for sure it's Iowa State.
Oh, okay.
I have Iowa State in there, yes. Wait,
All right.
wait. What region are we talking about?
Because Iowa State, we're talking about the Midwest.
Do you have Iowa State over UConn?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking
No.
at my bracket's messed up. I'm sorry. So would you have the winner of Tennessee Creighton or Gonzaga? Sorry, America. That was very confusing.
I'd go with, that's hard. I'm going to stick with what my original bracket says. I'd have Tennessee in my Final Four coming out of the Midwest region.
Okay, perfect. Now, the region we've all been waiting for. It's our namesake, the Wild Wild West.
Wow. Good one.
2-seed Arizona actually favored in pretty much every book to make it over UNC. So I'm going to ask it from their perspective. The Arizona Wildcats, take it or leave it. They get to the Final Four.
Whoa, Carly. Whoa.
I'm leaving it.
What?
I'm leaving it. It's in my original bracket, but I'm leaving it. Carly, you go first.
Well, I mean, from the beginning, we knew that UNC was a legitimate Final Four potential, and I had them in my Final Four in my first bracket, and I also had Auburn in my Final Four.
Yikes.
Didn't turn out well. I let my bias get ahead of me,
Sure
but
did.
I had to do that second chance bracket earlier before the show. But I have UConn and UNC in that semifinal game.
Wow.
I respect that. I mean, if not Arizona, then I definitely have North Carolina representing that southern region. But when I look at that matchup in the Elite Eight, you've got Caleb Love versus R.J. Davis.
Well,
the battle of the cross lovers, fighting over mid. I mean, that's what destroyed their season last year, fighting over mid. Now, I'm not saying... Anyway, it's gonna be a very good game. It's gonna come down to the wire. I think both of these teams can score. It's gonna be amazing. I want both of them to drop 30. I want R.J. Davis to drop 30. I want Caleb Love to drop 35 because I was team Caleb Love in that whole conundrum. But anyway, so because of that, I think Arizona's gonna win the game. They're great offensively. They're not the best defensively, but they can overwhelm you offensively, especially when they're going. Even when they're having off nights, they have guys that will step up and provide and keep them in the game until stars like Caleb Love are ready to hit their shots. But I think Arizona at their best can outscore North Carolina at their best, outdo them straight up. It's going to be a great game in the Elite Eight, but I have Arizona winning it to represent the South in the Final Four.
I can 100% see UNC beating Alabama. I've already picked that game. And they're going to get to the Elite Eight, and they're going to face off against Arizona. And I think that Arizona's consistency is going to be what takes North Carolina down to get into the Final Four. So give me Arizona over UNC. You're crazy. I know what you're about to say, too.
Look, My OG bracket, I got Arizona going to the Final Four. You know, they're an incredible team led by Caleb Love. I look at this team, there's really nothing to hate. This is a team that was probably the best team to pick to win the national championship because almost no one picked them, and yet they were third or fourth in odds.
Yeah.
Incredible team, lots of depth. But you know what? There's a team I've watched this past weekend.
Here we go.
That inspired me.
America, you know what's coming.
Because
They inspired you?
all season long, I watched this team struggle on
leave
defense, be incredibly inconsistent, lose in the SEC championship to a Florida Gators team that we saw lose in the first round, albeit their center did get injured. That impacted the game, but lose to Colorado in the first round. But guess what? It's all about clicking at the right time. Carly, you know about this. Those Auburn Tigers in 2019, what happened? They won in the round of 64 by 1 point. They got hot at the right time. They knocked down Kentucky, knocked down UNC, got to the Final Four.
They did.
Bruce Pearl got his Final Four, and guess what? I'm getting a call.
Oh, God.
He took the shoe off. Okay.
Yeah,
What's
and
up?
for
What's
our
up?
radio listeners,
What's up?
they're
hold on, Carly.
Alabama shoes.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, it's my Alabama
Just
Chuck Taylors. I'm getting a
so you
call.
know. Okay.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, it was nice talking to you. That was Nate Oates. He just guaranteed Alabama is going to the Final Four, okay? Give me the duo of Mark Sears and Aaron Estrada lighting it on fire from three. I believe in the depth. I believe in Griffin. I believe in Pringles. And guess what? Yeah, his name's Pringle because he's going to be snacking on that North Carolina defense like it's a can of sour cream and onion pickles, okay? Not pickles. Pringles, okay? I'm thinking about pickles. But at the end of the
I
day,
know you're thinking about pickles. You took it. Now listen, the other day I talked about he was half masked for Justin Herbert, but man, I'm telling you, Bama get him standing tall any day.
Hey,
Any day.
listen. When you look at a
Full
coach
mask.
like Nate Oates, he is not only one of the best coaches in the SEC, he is a top 5 coach in the country right now. He is going to prove to the world this might not be his most talented team. That was last year with Brandon Ingram, but guess what? This team is hungry, this team has heart, and this Alabama Crimson Tide team will knock down those Tar Heels, will knock down those Wildcats, and represent the West region in the Final Four, cut the nets down, and face off against those UConn Huskies. Give me Bama,
Standing tall.
give me the Tide, and guess what? It's Roll Tide Billy, where we don't give a bleep about nothing but the Tide, baby.
Full mask, boy. Look, he ain't playing.
I got one shoe on.
Blood flow.
I'm screaming. Hey, listen, I got one shoe on. I'm screaming Roll Tide.
Brick house.
And I'm screaming, follow Dine West. Follow Dine West on Instagram at UWG_Dine_West to keep up on dining hall hours and retail hours. Never get caught missing good food or closings when you're hungry. With all that being said, the dust has settled, and that is all the time we have left for Sports Pack tonight. We'll catch y'all on Monday when that Final Four is set in stone. Same bat time, same bat channel. Richard, you got anything to say, America, before we close out?
God bless.
There we go.
You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports.